Hello, and welcome to this third video in the little series I'm doing of looking at the different dispositions in Warhammer 40,000 11th edition. And this video's topic is the disruption disposition. So we've already seen two very clear playstyles in Take and Hold and Purge the Foe, which is sort of predicated around firstly taking and holding objectives and claiming that territory and being rewarded for that, and then in the second one more outright killing of the opponent, although Purge the Foe is not without its rewards for taking objectives as well. It's just a slightly different emphasis, and we'll see what the emphasis is for this disposition of disruption. It's a playstyle of sort of harassment and sabotaging your opponent, and it favours sort of fast utility units, sort of manoeuvring around the board and doing actions and creating havoc for the opponent. The weakness is that it is going to require quite a skillful player who is good with their positioning of their units to get the most out of this. So let's have a look at the missions. So the first one will be when you play a Take and Hold player, you will run Death Trap. And I spoke about this in the Take and Hold video, but we'll go over it from the disruption player's perspective this time. So in this mission, you have an action that's available to you in your shooting phase, obviously. It's called Trapped. You make an action with a friendly unit that's in range of one objective, not including your home, or that is within range of one terrain area that is not in your deployment zone. And these can't have been trapped yet, okay? There's no limit to how many times you can do this action. Each unit that does it, though, must be within a different terrain area, okay? It completes immediately, so you don't have to wait for the end of the turn or anything. And what you do is, as I say, you pick an objective that you're in range of, so you're on an objective or you're on a terrain area, and you place an operation marker on that terrain area, and then that terrain area is trapped. And the way you score then after you've done that is in any battle round at the end of your turn, for each terrain area that you have trapped this turn, score 2 VP, and then on top of that, for each of those terrain areas that is also an objective, you score 3 VP. Now, as I've already said, if you're just going to do it on a terrain area that doesn't have an objective on it, or that isn't an objective, then that has to be outside of your deployment zone. But if you focus on doing it to the ones that are objectives, then you will score more points that way. For every terrain area that is also an objective that you have trapped, you'll get 5 VP. There's other ways to score as well. In any battle round, at the end of your turn, if one or more enemy units that started the turn within a trapped terrain area were destroyed, you get 3 VP. And then from the second battle round onwards, at the end of the command phase, if you hold one or more objectives, not being your home, 4 VP. So the standard hold objectives. So apart from just holding objectives, you're really being rewarded for doing your action. And as we said, this is like harassment, sabotage, it's disruption. You're going to be doing things all over the board that is annoying and counterproductive for your opponent. So here you're being rewarded for trapping terrain areas, and then if your opponent wanders onto those terrain areas or tries to take objectives that you've trapped, you then kill them and you score extra points that way. So quite annoying, I would imagine, for your opponent. Your Take and Hold opponent will be playing a mission called Determined Acquisition. That one's more simple. It's just that in any battle round, at the end of their turn, each objective that they hold that they did not hold at the start of the turn, not being their home, they score 2 VP. So that really plays well with the trapped action that you do as the disruption player, because you've taken an objective, you've trapped it, and the Take and Hold player is being rewarded for coming and taking that objective off you. So they want to do that, but you directly sort of counter them because you want them to do that. So if you kill them, if they step onto your trapped terrain area or objective and you kill them, then you're getting even more points. So there's you are directly opposed in what you're trying to do there. So that's really nice, so the sort of mission design. Also, from the second battle round onwards, at the end of the command phase, for each objective that they hold, 3 VP, plus for each of those objectives that's in your opponent's territory, they will get 3 VP for that. So they're being rewarded for taking objectives, but for also being aggressive and coming to you, which again sort of plays into coming and taking the objectives that you've already claimed, but you've probably trapped them. So they are literally walking into a trap. So I really like that. That's excellent sort of mission design there by Games Workshop, and that should be a really fun contest, I think. Death Trap against Determined Acquisition. The next one, for the Disruption player who's playing a Purge the Foe player, will be Delaying Action. So let's have a look at that one. Delaying Action. I imagine you do something annoying to the opposition player. Let's have a look. Delaying action, any battle round, at the end of your turn, for each enemy unit destroyed this turn, 2 VP. Okay, straightforward. Kill someone, get 2 VP. Then from the second battle round onwards, at the end of the command phase, if you hold one or more objectives, not being your home, 4 VP. So the classic hold. And then at the end of your turn, if you hold one or more central objectives and one or more expansion objectives, 3 VP. So this isn't actually very intricate or a complicated mission. I'm not really sure why it's called a delaying action, particularly as there's no actions involved. So essentially you're just looking to kill your opponent, but more so the emphasis is on you taking objectives, and particularly taking a central objective and an expansion, and concentrating on that. So you don't have to spread yourself probably too thin here, I think, as the disruption player. The Purge the Foe player will be playing Punishment. That's the one that I spoke about in the Purge the Foe video, where you select several units, they are condemned, and you go about targeting those units and are rewarded for killing them. Or if condemned units leave the battlefield in some way. They are also rewarded for holding an objective and holding more, and then finally if they hold their opponent's home. So if they come and take your home, they'll get 8 points. So just thinking about how these two play together, they don't seem quite as interesting as the last set we saw. The Purge the Foe player is just doing what a Purge player does, really. He's looking to kill units and then take objectives and hold more than the opponent and come and take your home. You are literally trying to delay that from happening with your delaying action by killing his army, and also really focusing on a central and an expansion objective and trying to hold those areas. And if the Purge player doesn't have the power to take you off them, then they'll fall behind and you'll win. Yeah, okay, well, that's fairly straightforward, really. For the next one, let's see if that is more involved, and that is the mirror matchup, and it's called Outmaneuver, which sounds more tricksy. Let's see what it is. So Outmaneuver. Any battle round, at the end of your turn, you hold your opponent's home, 10 VP. Bang, there you go. Wow, that's crazy. Every turn you are rewarded for holding your opponent's home, and it's big points, 10 VP. And you can do that every battle round. So you just do that, that's 40 VP. You just do it every battle round. You can't see you taking your opponent's home in turn 1, but so let's say you do it turn 2, 3, 4, 5. Straightforward 40 points. So that's mental. Then the other scoring is, in the first battle round, at the end of your turn, for each objective you control not being your home, 4 VP, so standard hold objectives. Then in the second and third battle rounds, at the end of the command phase, for each objective you hold not your home, 5 VP. And then in the fourth and fifth battle round, at the end of your turn, for each objective you hold, 6 VP. So apart from just taking and holding your opponent's home, you are rewarded here for each objective you control. So it's not standard hold. It's not like hold 1. It's you are rewarded for each objective you control. Apologies for that. And that reward goes up. So let's say you're holding 2 objectives in the first battle round. Fine, 8 VP, great. But in the second and third, that's going to become 10 VP. And then if you're still holding them fourth and fifth, that's now 12 VP. So this is cranking up this scoring. So if your opponent is not putting pressure on you and taking you off these objectives, you're just going to outscore them and get away from it. And that looks like loads of fun because of that huge spanner in the works there about taking your opponent's hold at home, and you're both doing that. You're both tasked with doing that. That should be absolute carnage. So this seems really, really fun. Outmaneuver. I'd love to hear from Disruption players who have tried this. Is it as fun as it sounds to me? Because I bet it's just bedlam on the battlefield. Moving on to playing the reconnaissance player. You will be playing Smoke and Mirrors. Now, Smoke and Mirrors involves doing an action, and it's called Decoyed. So you make an action in your shooting phase with one friendly unit that is in range of one objective, not including your home, that has not yet been decoyed. You can do this as many times as you want, but each unit that does it must be within range of a different objective, so you can't decoy the same objective with different units. It completes at the end of your turn if you control that objective. So you have to take the objective and do the action, and at the end of your turn you will place an operation marker on that objective, and that is now called a decoyed objective. And so the scoring plays off that. In any battle round, at the end of your turn, for each objective that you decoyed, you get 2 VP, and plus, for each of those objectives that's within your opponent's territory, i.e. their half of the board, you get an additional 2 VP. So this is really rewarding you for, 1, doing the action, but 2, being aggressive, pushing forward and doing it in your opponent's half of the table. Then from the second battle round onwards, also, you score at the end of the command phase. If you hold one or more objectives, not including your home, that's 4 VP, that's the standard just hold. And then at the end of the battle, if you have 4 or more objectives that have been decoyed, you get 10 VP. So that's a big reward if you've dominated and you've done that action on 4 different objectives. And you can't do it to your home, so you've essentially done it to the whole battlefield. You've taken the whole battlefield. With all of these missions that I've seen so far, there's no way of removing this condition from the objective. So once something's been decoyed, that's it. It's been decoyed, and you can focus your attention on a different objective and trying to decoy that one. So I like that. It's good. It rewards aggression and dominating and holding terrain. So I like that mission. Your opponent, your recon player opponent, will be playing a mission called Surveil the Foe. This one has an action as well. So the action is called Surveil the Foe. So the recon player will be doing this action. He will select one of your units within 18 inches and visible to him that has not been surveilled this turn, and they will do an action, and they can do it as many times as they want, and it completes immediately, and it makes that enemy, i.e. that unit of yours as the disruption player, surveilled. Basically, you will have the characteristic of being surveilled. Then their scoring is that in any battle round, at the end of their turn, if one or more enemy units were surveilled this turn, unless each of those units is within range of an objective that has an operation marker within range of it, 4 VP. So basically, you have to get within range of an objective and remove the marker and do the action and surveil the disruption player's unit. You then score 4 VP if you've done that, and the disruption player's unit is surveilled. From the second battle round onwards, at the end of the command phase, if they hold one or more objectives, not being their home, they get 4 VP, so standard hold. And then at the end of the command phase, if they hold more objectives than the disruption player, they get 4 VP. So hold more. And also at the end of the turn, if none of their opponent's operation markers are on the battlefield, they get 5 VP. So just going over this, I'm just sort of thinking about this for the first time. As the disruption player, you are looking to decoy and put down your markers and decoy these objectives. Now, it doesn't say, just looking, let's just double read the action here. It's on the back of the card. It says that if the objective is decoyed, you place one of your operation markers within range of the objective. But it doesn't say that if that marker is removed, then the objective is no longer decoyed. So I think once you decoy an objective, it's there for the game. So you can't lose your decoys, but you have to keep doing them. And this is the interesting interplay here, actually. So the recon player is rewarded for removing your operation markers, but that doesn't allow you as the disruption player to decoy that objective again. That's my reading of it. It doesn't remove the decoy keyword or characteristic or condition, whatever you want to say. And it'd be interesting if it did, because then as the recon player is removing the markers, they're actually freeing up or opening up opportunities for the disruption player to do more decoys. But I don't think from the wording, there's nothing that says to me that an objective that has been decoyed can be undecoyed, if you like. So that's my reading. I think we need a bit of clarity on the interaction here. But I think the removal of the operation marker is simply so that you can potentially score at the end of your turn an extra 5 VP for there not being any of the disruption player's operation markers on the battlefield. I think that's the only sort of purpose for removing the operation markers. That's my reading. So anyway, you've got the disruption players trying to put down operation markers and trying to decoy and getting rewarded for all the decoys that they do on the objectives. And if they can do 4 or more, they get 10 points at the end of the battle, whereas the recon player is trying to remove as many markers as they can, so they can be rewarded for that, 5 EP a turn. And then they're also surveilling the opponent, the disruption player's units. So that's kind of it's a funny one. There's a lot of interaction with the no operation markers. One person's trying to put them down, one person's trying to take them off. We'd be interested to see how that one goes, but I've fumbled my way through that one a bit, but I don't see anything that says that you can, and with all these missions that I've seen so far, I don't see anything that says that once a condition has gone on to an objective that your opponent can remove that condition. So that's my reading. You tell me if you can how you've been playing it. But moving on to the last mission for disruption, and I just had a pause there and read through this again because I wanted to make sure I was understanding it correctly. This, if I am understanding it correctly, this is a really, really cool pair of missions essentially, and the way they interact, it seems to be great. So just to run through it, as a disruption player against a priority assets player, you're going to be running a mission called Locate and Deny. And the way this works is at the start of the battle, you will select 5 terrain areas not in your deployment zone and place an operation marker on each of them. And if you can't do that, then just use terrain areas that aren't in your deployment zone instead. This mission involves an action, and it's called Sensor Sweep. And the interesting thing about this action is that it's actually available to both players. So the disruption player has it, and also the priority assets player will be using it as well. Now, what a Sensor Sweep does is you make an action with one of your units that's in range of a central objective. And you can do this once per turn, and it completes at the end of your turn if you control that objective. And if you do that, you remove an operation marker from the battlefield. And you cannot sensor sweep if there is only one operation marker remaining on the battlefield. So as I said, the disruption player puts down 5 operation markers, and then both players actually will be trying to control a central objective and then doing the action and removing an operation marker. So if the control of the, let's say there's one central objective, I don't know how many there are in this mission, but if there's one central objective, and let's say it's going back and forward, from one player's hands to another, both players will be removing an operation marker each battle round. So you could very quickly get down to the last one. You could have 4 removed in the first 2 or 3 battle rounds, and then you're down to one operation marker on the field. So you could very soon get down to the last operation marker on the battlefield. And the reason that's important is because both players' scoring is predicated around what they're doing with this final operation marker that cannot be removed by a sensor sweep. So the disruption player is trying to hold on to this last terrain area, this last operation marker, and deny the priority assets player. And the priority assets player is trying to take that and extract the relic. Right, that's the mission, extract the relic. So anyway, the scoring for the disruption player goes like this. In any battle round, at the end of your turn, if one or more enemy units that started the turn within range of one or more objectives is destroyed, 4 VP. And at the end of your turn, where only one of your operation markers is on the battlefield, so the last one, if one or more of your units are within the same terrain area as the marker and no enemy units are, then you get 4 VP. So again, if you're holding this last operation marker and the enemy doesn't have any units on that terrain piece because you've killed them all or they haven't got there, you're scoring for that. And we'll see in a minute how that directly conflicts with what the priority assets player is trying to do. So the other scoring is from the second battle round onwards. If you hold, you get 4 VP. So just holding an objective that isn't your home. And interestingly, I'll say now, that is also a condition of the priority assets player. So he's trying to do, again, the same thing as you. And then at the end of the battle, the disruption player, where there is only one of your operation markers on the battlefield, and if one or more of your units is in the same terrain area as that marker and no enemy units are, you get 5 VP. And then I'll flip on to extract relic, the priority assets player's mission. They get an end of battle scoring as well. If one of their opponent's operation markers is on the battlefield, only one, the last one, and if one or more of the priority asset player's units is within the same terrain area as that operation marker and no enemy units are within it, they get 5 VP. So again, it mirrors totally. So the other scoring that the priority assets player who's running extract relic can achieve is that at the end of their turn, if a friendly unit has performed a sensor sweep, then they get 4 VP. And then at the end of their turn, one or more enemy units that started the turn within range of one or more objectives is destroyed, they get 3 VP. So it's practically the same mission, but from a different perspective, one defensive, one offensive. So just going back to it, the disruption player scoring 4 VP for killing an enemy unit that started within range of an objective, whereas the priority assets player only gets 3 VP for doing the same thing. But the difference is the priority assets player is scoring 4 VP a turn just for doing the sensor sweep action, which you don't score from doing that as the disruption player. But other than that, the missions just completely mirror image each other, from a different perspective. I think that's really interesting. It should be an excellent mission, again, because you're trying to fight over the same thing. It's who can get rid of the operation markers and get it down to just the last one, and where is that last one going to be, because that is in the hands of the player who removes the last one, I suppose, or the fourth one, I should say. The player who removes the fourth operation marker decides where the last one will be, effectively, and then that is where the battle is going to be fought, over that last operation marker. So it's going to be really fun. I think it'll be total chaos when you do finally get down to the last marker, and then it's all out war over that marker. So really interesting mission. I love that one. Has anyone played that? Because I'd love to hear if you've played the matchup Locate and Deny against Extract Relic. I'd love to hear how that went, and did it just turn into an absolute bloodbath? Yeah, because it seems like really well designed and should be loads of fun. So just lastly on this disposition of disruption, we'll mention a few of the strong armies that you will see running this. Eldar Aspect Host, Chaos Demons, Demonic Incursion, Chaos Space Marines, Hurons Marauders, Genestealer Cult's Subterranean Assault, and Space Marines Storm Lance Task Force will all be running this. Those are the 3 DP ones. So not as many as we saw with some of the other dispositions, which means, what does that mean? That I suppose Games Workshop are looking at this as a slightly weaker disposition, one that would need a bit of help. So, if you're running a very strong detachment, such as Huron's Marauders or Demonic Incursion or Aspect Host, maybe you don't need the help, or maybe it would be overpowered if they added another detachment to it. But if you're running Champions of Faith, Lions of the Emperor, Wind Rider hosts, for example, I'm just looking at some of the others here. Those are the main ones, really. Like you've got things like Rapid Evisceration for the Emperor's Children. No one ever takes that. Those ones, the ones I've just mentioned, they're two DP, 2 detachment points. So they're not deemed as being as strong, and you can supplement them with a 1 DP detachment. So yeah, so that's Disruption. Interesting, totally different playstyle to Take and Hold and Purge the Foe. Really liking this so far, loving how these missions are shaping up, and again, the sort of interplay between the 2 opponents and what they're trying to achieve throughout the game. Let me know your thoughts on it. If you want to see the final 2 videos, which will be Reconnaissance and Priority Assets, and me going through those missions, then make sure you like and subscribe, and you will not miss the next videos. So until then, thank you very much for listening.